Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Tether Radio Podcast, the only podcast keeping you from spiraling out into the infinite abyss. I'm your host, Daniel, and I'm joined, as always, by my brother and co-host, Joseph.
Good morning.
What up, yo?
Man, doing the thing from the week, this past week, and, man, there's a lot that went on. A lot that happened.
The news cycle was churning, man.
Yeah. I mean, this is gonna be an interesting one.
Yeah,
I think. But yeah, it's kind of amazing. Actually, now that I think about it, it's definitely amazing how much went down this week.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
because we didn't cover Dayton or El Paso. Didn't that happen this past?
I think that we covered. We basically touched on it last.
Okay.
I think maybe we were just maybe I'm misremembering this, and we just had a phone conversation about it or something. So
yeah, I don't know, but I mean, that's a bizarre one. One that popped up. Oh my God. There's some really good articles that just keep popping up, dude.
Yeah.
So
we're gonna kind of get into the mass shooting stuff with one of the articles for today's episode. So
right. Yeah. So anyway, a lot going on here. A lot to cover. How are you doing, man? You good?
Yeah, man. I'm doing well. Glad to wrap up the week. Decided to leave my employment at the end of the month. It's been a good run. And I was just getting to see Finn and Megan less and less on the weekend, and so I figured, I'll have craft beer a little bit less. That's pretty much the only thing that's going to change, and I'll be around a little bit more on the weekend. So, but yeah. So,
well, there you go, dude.
Yeah. Hey, man, priorities, right?
You're getting it dialed in.
Yeah. How was your week, man?
It was good. Yeah, it was good. It was good. Just doing the thing on the work front, and yeah, man, and just keeping it on the rails, keeping it between the lines, bro.
Very nice. Oh, yeah.
Anyway, I guess without further ado, let's step into it.
Let's do it, man. So this one, super short article on this one. Like we like to do. If you're not familiar with the show, new listeners, all of this. What we like to do is kind of start off with a couple like lighter articles that we can just kind of shoot the shit about, and just inform our listeners as to some kind of kooky shit that's going on across the United States. Well, and honestly, in the world sometimes. So, but for this one, this first article, it was titled, and I pulled this from the KRCR News, which is a ABC affiliate in California. Bear lands on patrol car responding to overdose, causing rollover crash and fire.
Wait, what?
Yeah, so I got this one on Reddit, and the poster was being accused of just stringing together fucking random words.
Okay.
But you get into the article, and that's a very succinct way to describe what happened. So, on August 3rd at around 11 p.m., Humboldt County Sheriff's deputy was heading north on Highway 96 with lights and sirens blaring when a bear suddenly fell from an embankment and landed on the hood. The patrol car then struck an embankment, rolled over, and came to rest on its side. The crash then sparked a fire that destroyed the vehicle and ignited nearby vegetation on the embankment, according to the Humboldt County Sheriff's Office.
Good God.
Right? Oh my God. But I was just like, I can't even imagine. I'd love to see the dash cam if that
No,
footage is available. That just
no
has to be
kidding.
the most outrageous, like, what, 20, 30 seconds, you know, for these
Jeez, dude.
happenings, man. But it
Okay,
was,
so this thing it fell off a cliff
it
and
fell
landed on.
off a, yeah, fell off a cliff, landed on the patrol car. Patrol car ends up out of control, hits an embankment, ends up flipping and rolling over, and then from the accident, somehow a spark was ignited, the car and vegetation around the car, and so they ended up having to call the fire department so that they could get it, you know, subdued before it really caused any problems. And it looks like it only burned about a half an acre, so it wasn't crazy or anything. But I mean, shit, dude, with all the fire issues in California, this is the last fucking thing California needs. So
That's ridiculous.
yeah,
That's
yeah,
ridiculous.
totally, totally.
Causing rollover crash and fire.
Yeah, dude, just
That's really
absolutely
intense.
insane. But not a whole lot to not a whole lot to say other than literally what has been said. So
Right.
we'll quickly move on to this next one. I thought this was kind of kooky. So I pulled this one from NBC News. Passenger calls 911 from inside luggage compartment of moving bus. Driver arrested. So one might wonder how the fuck someone would get locked in the luggage compartment of like a bus, like a
Right. Right.
whatever bus. But so basically, what
By the way,
happened?
the company's called Peter Pan.
Yeah, I saw that. Pretty awesome, dude. So the victim called 911 at about 4 p.m. From inside the luggage compartment while the bus was on Interstate 84. And the call was tracked to the bus, and then they pulled the bus over. Well, the driver that was currently operating the bus was, let's see, he went over to the luggage compartment and opened it, and there was this woman that said that basically
No. It was a woman driving.
it says the female victim was asked if she needed medical
But
attention.
yeah, but there was two women.
Yeah, no, I know. What happened was the lady that was locked in the compartment said that the current driver was not the person that did it to her, and the other driver was like riding on the bus currently. This lady, Wendy Alberti, and she ended up getting.
Wait. Hold on.
Okay.
I just want to make sure.
Okay.
No. Wendy Alberti was the driver.
Yes, that's what I said.
Okay. Okay. I was confused because you said, sorry, dude. I'm not trying to pick this apart. But I thought you said he, the
Yes,
driver.
yes, because it said that basically, oh my God, where is it? The driver who was operating the bus when it was pulled over, identified by
I see.
police as a
I
male.
I see. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So they basically they have, since it's probably like a tour bus kind of thing, they've got two drivers so that they can drive 24 hours probably, or something along those lines.
So the lady.
She locked the fucking woman in the luggage compartment, boarded the bus, and they fucking dipped.
That is ridiculous.
Right? But yeah, dude, it was pretty fucking awesome, man. I mean,
Yeah.
because apparently the victim said that she purposely locked her in the compartment because the passenger wanted to access her luggage to get some items out or something like that. And so the lady, I guess, the driver, Wendy Alberti, apparently let the passenger get in the luggage compartment to find her bag, and then fucking locked her in. So,
Right.
anyway, just kind of the fucking kooky world we live in, man. Don't ever turn your back on a bus driver that lures you into the luggage compartment of their bus. So
That is so ridiculous, dude.
But
So ridiculous.
yeah, man. Anyway, let's go ahead and cruise on to this next one, because I definitely have some stuff to say about it, and kind of the spin that Joseph and I talk about, how a lot of the time these scenarios will be spun by whoever's basically using some kind of scenario to position themselves to be either the victim or cause attention to be paid to something or whatever. And I think that this is kind of I don't know. I think it was a misinterpretation, kind of, because I don't. Well, anyway, we'll get into it. So I pulled this one from Mashable. David Harbour, he played the sheriff on Stranger Things. It's the actor.
Okay. Yep.
David Harbour has strong words for those blaming mental illness for mass shootings. So, for anyone not in the know, after these two shootings occurred in El Paso and
our family would have seen.
Jeez. Sorry.
No, you're good.
Go ahead. I was poking around doing a little bit of research here. Autoplay video. Go ahead.
So, it was El Paso and
Dayton.
Dayton, got you. So basically, what happened was Donald Trump came out and made a speech about during a press conference. He made uttered the phrase, "Mental illness and hatred pulls the trigger, not the gun." Okay, so that was interpreted apparently by a lot of people as saying mental health people, or mental illness, or people that are suffering from mental illness, all of them are potential mass shooting people or something along those lines. They pulled a responding tweet to the president from just, I guess, this random person. She said, "Hi, I'm Kara. I have bipolar disorder and anorexia. Never once have I considered a mass shooting. These incidents we are seeing time and time again in America are not as a result of mental illness. They're a product of male entitlement and white supremacy." I'm not sure that I agree.
I mean, this is. I don't know.
This seems so incredibly unconnected that you might as well fucking blame Marvin the Martian on mass shootings.
Go ahead. Okay, go ahead. Yeah. You're still giving it.
Yeah. So let me get through what David Harbour said, and then I'll throw it over to you to get your take, man. So I'm just going to. I don't want to leave any of this shit out because I don't want to be accused of fucking curating what our listeners are receiving from us. So
right.
I'll breeze through it. The quote, "mentally ill, this arbitrary societally agreed upon cattle brand to differentiate us from them, are overwhelmingly subject to violence, not perpetrators. I'm a card-carrying member, and those I've met in asylums are some of the kindest lost people I've known." This was a series of tweets, by the way, from David Harbour, if I didn't already mention that.
Mm-hmm.
More often, it is societally sanctioned sane that are violent, being lost and confused and cracking up amidst the overwhelming hypocrisy and apathy of a society whose very earth crumbles and decays by their own indifference seems to me a very considered response to daily life. I tire of this archaic branding of a subset of the species altogether who does not suffer, but certainly in times of cultural strife to focus rage, hatred, and deep uncertainty on a weak, already ashamed and outcast group seems at best cowardly and at worst calculated evil. Who does not suffer should read with a question mark after it, as it's rhetorical, and then he has in parentheses, who does not suffer, question mark. It is an ism like all others, saneism, and most days I deal with it with a certain duck-back-like grace. But when you brand us the cause of societal ills, I bristle, and I think where the sane have gotten us, and where the sane continue to lead us. So that was what he had to say, and I think what like I said, a lot of people interpreted Trump's words as basically saying that all mentally ill people are whatever mass shooting suspects or have a higher propensity, for that. And I don't really think that's, I don't know. That was not my interpretation of it. So, but anyway, what's your take, dude? What do you think?
Oh man,
pull up a chair.
Yeah, there's just so much to unpack. Yeah. I think that, I don't know. I kind of come at this from, like, as I'm thinking through, like, okay, let me start over.
Okay.
This is a really complicated problem.
Yeah. Agreed.
I think that someone who is maybe less interested in exploring the nuance might say, well, it's actually not. You just ban these things and you don't have the problem, right? Mm-hmm. And by the way, to a certain extent, I don't disagree with that, right? Mm-hmm. Like, I mean, if there were a magical way to snap your fingers and have, all weapons, all weapons, we'll say, or all guns or whatever, disappear from American households, sure, you're going to have zero mass shootings, you know, but there are, and I guess this goes without saying, but there are constitutional protections that are in place to make sure that doesn't happen. Mm-hmm. The goal is not to protect you from your neighbor. Mm-hmm. The goal is to protect you from your government.
Yeah.
That's the purpose of the Second Amendment.
Yeah.
And so that's why I think the Second Amendment really matters and should stick around, is because I think we've gotten lulled into this idea that, I don't know that we've been lulled into this idea, but there is an odd kind of amount of trust that's extended to the government, right? And these people are not your caretakers, dude. They do not have your best interest in mind. No, it just doesn't work that way.
Yeah.
And so anyway, so the reason I say that is because I think that, the Second Amendment is important, as is the First Amendment, as is the Bill of Rights generally, right? Mm-hmm. And so then when you say, okay, well, we're not going to strip that away, so what? So then how could we curtail, what's going on here?
Yeah.
And so the reason that I'm starting super broad, right, and then kind of zooming in on this is that it does seem like that there's a problem, right? Like, I don't know that anybody's going to say, no, this is not an issue. I mean, you just had 2 mass shootings in 12 hours.
Yeah. There was actually, real quick, and I'll see if I can find it real quick, but there was a graph that somebody had made about, what was it? It was, I think it actually had to do with gun control and mass shootings or something along those lines. And basically, it was showing that they were not really that correlated, kind of thing. That it's,
Yeah.
people are going to find a way, kind of thing.
Right. Right.
But anyway,
Right. So then if you say, okay, what I guess, right. Okay. So I'm just starting super broad, but then if you zoom in and you say, what does the profile look like, of somebody that perpetrates this type of stuff?
mm-hmm.
Like we can get pretty close.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that, I mean, for God's sakes, like marketing companies can get pretty close in understanding, who wants to buy, a Ford car,
Yeah.
What that profile looks like. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that like the facts of the case, the facts of the situation are that there's an issue. The
Mm-hmm.
issue needs to be addressed in some way,
Mm-hmm.
but it needs to be addressed in a way. Like I don't think the answer is to just not do anything.
Yeah.
But I think that it reeks of incrementalism and kind of chipping away at a freedom and a right
Mm-hmm.
to address the tool and not the tool that's being used to perpetrate these wild acts, dude.
Yeah. Well,
versus
oh,
addressing the underlying issue.
Yeah.
And I just don't. It's interesting to me that, and I'll wrap so that you can throw some commentary in here. But
Mm-hmm.
It's interesting to me that that it's even up for question that somebody that feels like that this is a thing that they have to do, should do,
Mm-hmm.
feel compelled to do, or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
It isn't like that they're sane,
Mm-hmm.
that they're operating on the same wavelength as everybody else. Like I think that that's like might even be a fact that they are not. You know what I mean? That like do you really believe? Like let's say the guy in El Paso who there's and here's the other thing that's really interesting. Those two guys are actually like very, very different. Like the guy in Dayton is a leftist, right?
Yeah.
The guy in El Paso is what people would call far right, and it was like an immigration thing that
Yeah.
that he had an issue with. And so, but I guess, just using that as an example, like you think that, that's an appropriate way to fight this, or you think that you're like martyring yourself to do this? Like, if you really believe that you're going to go into El Paso, Texas and perpetrate this and it's going to have any influence, like you're just not seeing the world in a logical, accurate way.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I mean, even if say it wasn't 22 people, say it was 222 people.
Yeah.
Like that doesn't mean that, all of a sudden, like, people are going to stop immigrating to the United States. It doesn't mean the law, lawmakers are going to be like, you know what, he's got a point, and he killed a lot of people, so maybe we should just. I mean, it's just absurd to think that you have an impact on it.
Yeah.
So that's it for me. Is like, and I didn't see. I just don't see that as is castigating the word?
I'm not sure, to be honest.
Make sure that I just don't see that as. No, it's not the word I was looking for. Castigate, by the way, means to reprimand someone severely. But I don't see that as doing something like saying something that's like really harmful to like the community of people that have a mental illness. That just doesn't. It's just the underlying issue must be addressed. What is the underlying issue? It seems as though these are people that are just having a problem understanding like an accurate fact set in their life, which is like another way of saying that they are mentally ill.
Yeah. Well, and so something that always really I don't know, I always come back to this, and it can be literally fucking applied in pretty much anything is when you have a problem, you treat the root of the problem. You don't treat the symptoms, kind of thing. So, in coming from a pharmacy background, they always told us, "Hey, you don't treat the symptoms; you treat the disease." You know what I'm saying? And I think that what ends up happening, and this is what ends up happening with mass shootings and hate speech and just all of these different scenarios. People take them and they boil them down and distill it to the most simple or the most simplistic thing to address, when in all actuality, is it just mental illness? No. Is it just gun rights? No. Is it, this underlying like group of people that are sitting on 8chan, planning mass shootings and stuff like that? No. It's a combination of so many of these things, like where we are politically, where we are societally, and just hell, for all we know, it could be this insane exposure to social media, that's playing a part in it, know,
right.
And so it's just, but it kind of irritates me when anybody tries to take a scenario that's so complicated as this and just be like, well, it's this and this. These are the two things that we need to address, and then we won't have that problem.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because, I mean, hell, thinking about, how there were all these, like, knife attacks that were popping up in the UK for a while? I mean, hell, dude, you take away the guns, they're going to use something else or get the gun, illegally or whatever. I mean, it's basically like saying, oh, well, you take away guns and crime's going to go down.
Well, and you just, it just seems as though you cannot use a rational, like, these acts are so irrational.
Yeah.
And that's it. These acts are irrational. They don't make sense.
Yeah.
It does not make sense to address whatever issue, real or perceived, like that.
Yeah.
It's just, this is such
it's
an
trying to make
understatement.
sense of something that's completely nonsensical, kind of thing.
That just, where these people have used no logic to arrive at this decision at all.
Yeah.
It's just this like twisted, bastardized, crazy shit. And so, I think, and here's the other thing though that I think is really interesting, is that, and I was thinking about this the other day, and it was unconnected. And now that we're having this conversation, I'm just like thinking about this. Like, we actually have a huge mental health crisis in this country.
Oh yeah.
The rise in homelessness is absolutely an example of this, right? I mean, so it's curious to me. I don't know. It's curious to me that well, I don't know. It's not actually that curious to me. Anything this guy says is going to get ripped apart, and that's fine.
Yeah.
That's fine. Everybody, people have their opinion. They should be entitled to their opinion. And if that's the way that this guy feels about it, he should talk about it freely and whatever. The one thing that I do think, though, about this whole, I just wanted to bring this up really quickly here. So, everybody's got their opinion as to why these acts are happening. Obviously, somebody responded, to that tweet with an interesting response saying, "Well, this is like male entitlement and white nationalism." Yeah. And I just wanted to bring. I don't know that I'm going to be able to bring this up at another time in this episode, so I just want to bring it up really quickly.
Yeah. Yeah.
Where the fuck is this white nationalism thing coming from?
Yeah.
Like, I don't. It's so interesting to me.
Yeah.
It's just like it's just like, I don't know. It's like these like, how is that not an issue a year ago or 6 months ago?
Yeah.
And now all of a sudden, what, like, are people like waking up and being like, actually,
You know, like people have their their what the fuck's going on board. You know what I mean? And they
Yeah.
finally have connected the last red line, and they step away from it, and they're like, "Fuck, white nationalism this whole time." Yeah, I mean, it's just like it's ridiculous.
Oh yeah.
And
Well,
and
yeah,
and
yeah.
so it just is like we are man, I don't know. I just think it's a really frustrating thing to see happen in real time, because there are big issues that need to be addressed, big important issues. And I just think that it is such lazy journalism, such like, and pathetic in a lot of ways. Like it's
Yeah.
fucking clickbait, dude.
Yeah.
And there are these issues, like there is racism that is real. You know what I mean? Like there are issues, there are things that matter, that are these deeper issues that, as a society, that we need to deal with.
Yeah.
And to be constantly fed this, this diet of just sugary, bombastic, empty fucking headlines that are set up just to get people, hemming and hawing and roiled, and like it's fucking ridiculous. And it's just gotten so out of control, dude.
Yeah.
Like it's just, I don't know. And I don't want to I don't want to get too distracted from the episode here, but it's just it's crazy.
Yeah.
It's really, really crazy to me.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. It is, man. And yeah, and it's just being perpetuated and just whatever put back in the forefront by social media and the mainstream media constantly. You know?
It's totally crazy.
But anyway, so yeah, so I wanted to cover that because it's, like I said, I think that people will take a lot of these scenarios and spin it just to maybe literally just get the scenario to work for them. Guns rights people are going to yell out that it's because of guns rights. Mental health advocates are going to say it's mental health. All that shit. Follow the money trail. That's how you find the real, the true story and the real fact behind the situation.
Yeah,
So.
and I think that, I don't know. I just think that it's really it's interesting that that we're quarreling about things that just seem, I don't know, man. We're just in this really interesting way.
Well, they're fabricated, dude.
Well, we're just in this really interesting place in the way that people communicate generally.
Yeah.
Where it's like people are so into picking everything apart that comes from the other side that they're not even like, I don't know. There's no way to have a productive conveation.
Yeah.
Which is
and
so
like we've talked
incredibly
about,
frustrating.
well, and like we've talked about in the past, dude, we have cultivated this rage culture over the past, I would say, I don't know, 5 to 7 years, something like that. And that it's just a series of knee-jerk reactions instead of taking a step back and seeing and being able to see the forest for the trees, kind of thing.
Yes. I think that's true, and I think, I don't know, man. Like, this is the way the argument goes, right?
Mm.
We have had 2 mass shootings in 12 hours. Do you agree that there's a problem? Yes, I agree that there's a problem. Do you agree that there's a problem? To the counterparty, yes, there's a problem here. Okay. We should address this issue. I think this issue is about guns only, right? And then the counterparty says, well, actually, I think it's a little bit more nuanced than that, right? I don't think it's about guns only. I think it's really this a mental illness problem. And then someone says, the person who holds the opposing viewpoint is like, wait a second, why are you putting this on mentally ill people? Like they're already, and it's like now you're not talking about the original topic, right? There has
Yes.
been a reframing, and you are headed down this fucking rabbit hole, and 2 sentences later, you're so far away
Yeah.
from the original conversation
Yeah.
that, and it's like the way to have productive discourse and dialogue is to talk about one fucking thing, to talk about the topic.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's not to talk about everything at once.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we have really lost our way.
Mm-hmm.
I'm saying as a society. I mean, I notice this in communications in our business all the time, right?
Yeah.
Where somebody will bring a problem to me and we'll start to talk about it. And then the conversation shifts and they're like, well, and I'm also thinking about, it's like, stop. Don't
Yeah.
also think about this. Let's talk about one thing at a time.
Yeah.
And let's get the issue addressed, that's right in front of us.
Yeah.
And like if we're uncovering a deeper meaning or deeper cause of what's actually going down, okay, that's fine. That's productive. But what's not productive is to try to talk about everything at once. And so I think that where I'm not going to say it used to be this way because I don't really recall and I don't know, but it just seems like, in society, we have just kind of given people a really long leash and just like talking about everything. And like people are not held accountable to like, and I mean, this sounds absurd what I'm getting ready to say, but are not held accountable to like finish their fucking thought. You know what I mean? And to like stay on topic. I mean, I'll tell you just as a, and
Well,
this
but
is
dude,
this last,
there's not a conversation though going on. I mean, it's just a series of fucking monologues. That's what tweets are. That's what Facebook posts are.
dude. Yes,
You
and
know?
that's what TV has turned into, man. I'm telling you, like turn on the radio, turn on TV, and when they ask to one of these talking heads
Yeah.
a question, really listen to what they're saying.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's unintelligible.
Yeah.
It's like
literally, it's just talking points, man.
it just doesn't, and it doesn't make sense. I mean, like it
Like a
is.
series of buzzwords kind of shit.
Yeah, well, yes,
Yeah.
and it's everyone is doing it, not everyone, but you hear so frequently, and I feel like it's much more frequently this like politician, double speak kind of thing, right? Where it's like not double speak, but like reframing, right? So it's like you can say, "Well, Joseph, how do you feel about this issue?" And if I'm have been trained to reframe and redirect, I can say, well, look, I mean, this is a challenging issue, but really what I think is more important, you know what I mean? And it's like you never actually anser the question.
Yeah. Or like whatever somebody asks, oh well, do you think that controlling guns more in this country would reduce mass shootings? And what they end up saying is, well, I don't really think that that the gun control is the issue. What the issue is da, 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 and it's like, well, no, I that's not what I asked.
That's exactly right. And so
You
for somebody just to be like yes or no,
yeah,
and if yes, why? If no, why?
yeah, yeah,
and it's just it's crazy because then it seems like if you demand that of people, it seems like you're like this terse, asshole.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
But that just, I mean, I think that is for somebody to ask a question and get an answer, I think is a realistic expectation.
But this is what we try to do on Tether Radio every fucking episode.
Right.
Is to have a conversation and fucking actually address as many perspectives as we can and give as much, get as clear of information as possible so that not only we can come to a conclusion and our own conclusion, but hell, the listeners can. It's like go out, You know, don't take our fucking words for it. We're covering these articles and stuff. Go look it up for yourself, read it, and fucking come to your own conclusion. Like that's how we will progress as a society, man. Is fucking free thinkers, you know, and not being sheeple. So, but
I agree, and I hope we've talked about this, like the long form coming back into vogue. I think is a really exciting thing. I think people have the capacity to think about really challenging issues from many different perspectives, and I know because this has happened in the past. People have the capacity to have debate. And to not agree with each other, but for society to continue to move forward.
Yeah.
And, there's so much noise from every direction, both sides of the aisle. There's no place you can turn and have an interaction with someone that is direct and not just full of fluff, you know?
Yeah.
Like it's not happening on social media, and that's how most people are saying that they're staying connected. It's not happening on most television shows, but it's just, I don't know, it's just really interesting place that we're in, because it's like you have the things that are not fantasy are so full of like, what's the word? Like not drama, but like are so full of the things that are not fantasy are so full of just.
Well, it's just it's dramatized.
It's dramatized, and it's packaged as like it's like secretly packaged as entertainment. And it's cheap, right? It's like really like cheap words, cheap slogans, cheap headlines. And then
kind of a case in point, man. I wish I had $1 for every time somebody called that the show Chernobyl, and notice that I said the show because it wasn't a fucking documentary. But everybody fucking received that as a documentary.
Right.
Like literally everybody that I've spoken to, hey, did you see that documentary on Chernobyl on HBO? And I'm like, I saw that show. That was based on the events that happened in Chernobyl.
That's crazy, and that's the conspiracy theorist kind of in me is like, people are actually having a hard time to separating reality from fiction.
Anyway, we'll go ahead and cruise on. Yeah, because honestly, this next one's pretty awesome.
Yep.
So you wanna bite us off a piece of this shit?
Yeah, this is pretty interesting. August 6, 2019, this article came out. I'm kind of, I don't know, we talked about a few months ago, we talked about an article that came out from Bloomberg that was discussing how in China there was malware that was put onto computer chips that were then made their way to the United States and were in on all these server farms and whatever, right?
But it was actually like hardware, wasn't it? It was like a transmitter.
It was hardware. Correct. Yeah. It was hardware. But then remember that article was like reversed, where they were like, wait, this was totally incorrect or whatever, right? Which
because in the article they said, wasn't it like Apple, Microsoft? They named like all Facebook, I think was even named, that like all of these people or all of these companies had some of this hardware in their servers somewhere, kind of.
Yeah,
thing.
And the article wasn't a it wasn't like a, I don't know. It was like a feature. That's what I mean. Mm-hmm. It was like a featured piece. Mm-hmm. So this thing was like pages long, right?
Yeah.
And had taken from the way that it read and the way that it looked, had taken months of research to put together.
Yeah.
And so they released this, and then it's like there's this huge reversal about the story where Bloomberg came out and like retracted the story, I think, or something. Something crazy.
But even the funny thing about it is, did you see much like press about that?
No, no,
I didn't see any.
no.
Like when you sent me that article, I was very surprised that, because I've got, my RSS feeds going, and I've got a substantial number of tech websites that it seems like it at least would have been brushed upon,
Right.
And
So
the only thing was Bloomberg. So
that's right. And so now, and the reason I'm saying that is because this article is like, to think that this stuff doesn't happen all the time is not accurate. It happens all the time. People tampering with devices, getting them into, these devices into like really complex supply chains that then these devices find their way to their target eventually. And, there's some sort of shenanigans that go on past that, right? But the article, AT&T employees took bribes to plant malware on the company's network, right? What was happening, the Department of Justice opened up a case against a couple of Pakistani guys. And these two guys, they're charged with, they're charged. The case that's been opened suggests that these two guys paid more than $1 million in bribes to AT&T employees to put malware. They wanted to unlock iPhones, right? So the way that this started is, these guys were paying AT&T employees, this is from a sentence in the article here, to unlock iPhones so they could be used on outside networks, right? And then they moved into creating malware that they would then embed onto AT&T equipment. Now, here's the thing, though. I wanted to see real quickly here what the AT&T equipment was, because I did not make a note of that. Let's see.
So it looks like it's they bribed him to install rogue wireless access points inside AT&T's Bothell call center.
Yeah,
or at least that was
yeah.
one.
So that to me is so fascinating that you've got these two guys bribing AT&T employees to install malware on AT&T equipment. I mean, it's just that's pretty far out, man. And this is, these are the guys that are getting caught doing it. You've got to imagine this stuff happens all the time.
Wow. Well, I mean, like we talk about, man. Just in regards to security, everything that is worth any kind of money, be that data or whatever, it's constantly being security measures are constantly being tested by hackers. Period. Whether that's people trying to get Twitch passwords or bank accounts or whatever, some kind of data on, I saw some huge data breach with some dating app recently, and it was like giving location, you could get like locations of people or whatever, or something along those lines. And but this shit is it's constant. I mean, it's not like, this stuff is like calculated and then, they're going to try to hack, just between the hours of 8 and 5.
Right. No, exactly.
But yeah, dude, this was just, I mean, it's the other crazy thing about this article is I didn't, had you not sent it to me, I wouldn't have seen anything about it.
Right.
Because I mean, you shake the right hands, you put the money in the right pockets, man, and everybody's hush hush. So,
right.
But yeah, just a kooky stuff, man. But well, so do you want to go ahead and hop into the fucking 800-pound gorilla in the room.
Yes. Yes, I do.
All right, man. Let's
Yes, I
do
do.
this. Let's do it.
Total insanity, man. So we were kind of going back and forth on, how to talk about this and how to cover this, whether we should cover it or not. And I think that it's too insane not to talk about.
Yeah.
But this Jeffrey Epstein saga has taken on a new layer, right? Just in case somebody didn't hear yesterday or wasn't watching the news or whatever. So they found this guy dead in his jail cell. When Daniel and I mentioned this, the whole Jeffrey Epstein thing, and we covered this 2-3 weeks ago, maybe, I think, in the beginning.
Yeah, I think we might have covered it in the beginning, and then we had the kind of the kooky article that you pulled about just how fucking bizarre Jeffrey Epstein was. And all that. But we've brushed upon it, I believe, prior to this. So.
Prior to this, yeah, and so it's just this has been such an interesting story for me for some reason. I don't know why this has just really, really captured my attention,
Yeah.
I think that it's a rare glimpse inside a layer of society that few people inhabit, right?
And will ever inhabit.
And I just think that we've talked about this in the past. I think that we can pretty much say that this is not, you can't really dispute this. There is a layer of society, forget the tinfoil hat, right? That does whatever the fuck they want. A group of people that do whatever the fuck they want. Whatever, and I'm saying, the craziest shit that you could probably think of, they are doing or have done or whatever. And everybody's not, Bill and Melinda Gates, right?
And probably shit that you haven't even thought about has gone down. It's like we were talking about that.
That's right.
There's nothing new under the sun, man.
There's nothing new under the sun. And if you're kink, if you're worth, $9 billion and your kink is, hunting the most dangerous game, in India or whatever, right?
Yeah.
Who's to say that doesn't happen? Of course it does. That's the thing that's so interesting to me, is that people have, it's like they have this really, it's like they have a hard time thinking about things that aren't directly applicable to them, right? So if there are people, and I'm just making this shit up, obviously, right? But I'm making a point here. If there are janitors in Indiana who are into child porn, if that's a thing, right? And they are doing it now, and they are getting away with it. You know what I mean? And maybe they have this shit on their computer. Maybe they are in. Maybe it's even more fucked up than that, where they're actively buying this shit, or maybe making this shit. I'm just saying, there's insanity that happens at a level that does touch you, right?
Yeah.
That does affect you. So if that happens, which it does happen, because these people get captured and fucking, taken to prison and spend a lot, this happens. We know this happens. Of course it happens at, further up the socioeconomic ladder. Of course it happens.
Yeah.
And so the difference is that the janitor doesn't have capital to keep him or her immune to the things that, you know, people catching them and you know, them having to pay the price for this stuff.
Yeah.
And so I just think that that's one of the reasons that this has been so intriguing to me, is because it's a rare glimpse, man. I mean, there are super wealthy people who do whatever the fuck they want.
Mm-hmm.
And this guy, Jeffrey Epstein, was connected to a ton of these people. And, you know, it's like you and I
Well,
were
he's just a facilitator, pretty much,
well,
right?
well, here's the thing
Or
you
that's
and I
what
were
it
talking
sounded
about.
like.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I agree,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't remember if we said this
Mm-hmm.
you know, on the show, or if we you and I were just chatting on the phone. But
Mm-hmm.
it's like grown up, you know, adult people that have the guy that they know that deals drugs,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And so the you know, you don't want to go and like hang out with the dude that has bead curtains and is still, you know, chasing down that last fish, you know, live recording that he didn't get in high school. Do you know what I'm saying? And like,
Yeah.
and his car's all fucked up, and his or her life is just in fucking shambles. But
Yeah.
they have the thing that you want. You want weed, or you want your coke, or you want whatever.
Yeah.
And so you go and you say, you know, hey Alex, you around, man? You know, and you go over to Alex's house and you pick this shit up. I'm making this up, right?
Yeah,
But you
yeah.
pick this shit up or whatever. But you're not living in their world, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's the same thing here, man. You have these people that, whether they are like fucked up, weird, you know, have these, you know, these fantasies of, you know, fucking kids, which is just like, it's fucking
extremely
twisted.
off-putting.
It's twisted. It's twisted shit, man.
Kidding. Yeah, dude, it's disgusting.
But
it's foul.
but and so what do? Right? They've got a facilitator. They've got like a you know, a shaman in that area, right? And that's what this guy does or did. And but the difference is like these people would hop on his plane and do whatever the fuck they would do. They'd step away. This guy's living in that every day.
Yeah.
What?
I mean, dude, he had this lady that had come out and basically testified against him, kind of thing. The what was her name? That was basically the keeper of the girls, like Giuffre or something like that. Ghislaine or something. Giuffre.
Yeah, I don't know. I know who you're talking about.
Yeah. But anyway, so she was kind of testifying. She was one of the ones that started kind of naming names, I believe, in regards to people that would be affected by Epstein's imprisonment.
Right.
So,
right.
but yeah, it's just I was just like paging through this thing because, you know, I mean, so this dude, and not to throw shade on kinks, whatever you're into, cool, just make sure it's legal.
Yeah.
But like the sealed documents or whatever that they pulled an Amazon receipt from all this stuff, and he had bought SM 101, a realistic introduction, Slavecraft, Roadmaps for Erotic Servitude, Training with Miss Abernathy, a workbook for erotic slaves and their owners. It's like, I mean, obviously this guy was into some stuff, so.
I mean, dude.
Or at least facilitating some stuff.
Yes.
But
totally bizarre.
Yeah. Just but yeah, and so you'd have these people, you know, these elite, for lack of a better umbrella term, that would cruise in, like you say, you know, I mean, he's being accused of having girls as young as 14 fucking years old that were, you know, whatever, doing God knows what, you know. And it's just like, dude, this guy, which I pulled this CNN article, and we'll post it in the show notes. But I mean, it's just despicable. It was like he was let's see, this one girl. Let's see, what was her first name? I don't know. Her last name's Maxwell. She had accused him of basically keeping her a sex slave for years. And he was quoted by her as saying, in his opinion, he needed to have 3 orgasms a day. It was biological, like eating. And he basically kept her, or allegedly kept her, as a sex slave, to the point of where they had hospital records of her being admitted to this hospital and brought in by the keeper lady, the whatever, Giuffre or whatever, however you pronounce that, and
Is it
Epstein.
just Jeffrey?
It's Giuffre.
Yeah,
So,
I don't know.
Yeah, but anyway, so they have hospital records of them bringing this fucking girl in for it was like oh my god, what was it? I want to make sure I get it correct. But basically, it was like she had been sexually abused. Like they were talking about how it was, she had been admitted for like vaginal bleeding and stuff.
So here's what I don't get though, right? Like how are they doing this?
Mm-hmm. Oh, here we go. Sorry, real quick. Complained of irregular vaginal bleeding for 3 weeks, had fainted 2 days prior, falling and hitting her head, and had lost 7 pounds in the past month.
So how are they doing this without her parents?
Yeah, that's a good question.
And then the other question would be, and if you're a billionaire doing this shit, like why aren't you bringing a doctor in to,
Mm-hmm.
It's just because the story is just bizarre, dude. The entire thing is bizarre.
Yeah.
And the reason that we wanted to bring this up today is like, I guess, not to redirect. Well, actually, I didn't mean to interrupt you. Go ahead.
No. Honestly, I was pretty much finished. It was just painting a picture of this guy and just how incredibly despicable and just disgusting this dude was, and just the number of people that would have been completely fucked if he was to remain alive. It was a lot of people. The flight log for the Lolita Express is not a short flight log. So
no, it's not. It's not. And so as these people, this information was coming out about this, and these people were going to be outed. This is why the conspiracy theorists the conspiracies have kicked up here. Yeah. And you and I were discussing this prior to the call. So this fucking guy is releasing information, or excuse me, he's not, but his court case is, creating this situation where this info is being released. How he almost dies in jail weeks ago. They put him on suicide watch, right? It's unclear as to what happened to him when he was in jail anyway.
Yeah. Even the first time, right?
Even the first time.
Yeah.
How how is this possible? It's just crazy.
Yeah.
It's fucking insane. But here's what's even more wild about it. So one of two things, this is binary, right? Either somebody killed him or he killed himself. Yeah. Okay. Number one, if he killed it, and so then it's like, okay, but then what is the motivation, right? Like, even if somebody killed him, obviously, okay, somebody wants him dead for a reason. If he killed himself, sure, maybe he's super disgraced and whatever. Or maybe somebody said, hey, there must be something you care about in this world, and unless you want whatever, this other person dead or whatever, right? You're gonna have to kill yourself, right? So, but it's just absurd. It's just absolutely fucking absurd. It just doesn't make any sense. But like you and I were talking about prior to hopping into this episode, so if somebody had him killed, there's not going to be repercussions for this.
No.
And it is so obvious that there's something off here. Like, how much further does this kind of shit have to go before there's like a reaction from the general public.
Yeah.
Like that's the thing that's so interesting to me, you know? I mean, we are like things are happening in front of people and people are saying, you know, and the powers that be are saying things like, no, come on, that didn't happen.
Yeah. Wow.
And people are like, okay.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, I know, right?
Well, I mean, like the facts are that this guy was under suicide watch in solitary, right?
Mm-hmm.
And died by hanging. That's what they said.
So they did say that he hung himself. Supposedly.
That's what they're saying, that he hung himself.
So I did pull this this other article, and I'll cruise through it really quickly. Basically what had happened was Fox News had interviewed. Let me find this guy. They didn't release his name. Yeah, they didn't release his name, but he was an ex-convict that was that had been previously in prison and spent spent several months in the 9 South Special Housing Unit for high-profile prisoners awaiting trial, which is the same unit that Epstein was held in. And they interviewed him about the potentiality of being able to kill yourself, you know. And he's like, there's no way that man could have killed himself. I've done too much time in those units. It's an impossibility. Between the floor and the ceiling is like 8 or 9 feet. There's no way for you to connect to anything. You have sheets, but they're paper level, not strong enough. He was 200 pounds. It never would have happened. And he's like, when you're on suicide watch, they put you in a white smock, basically a straitjacket. And he was like, the clothing they give you is a jump-in uniform. Could you have done it on the bed? No, there's a steel frame, but you can't move it. There's no light fixture. There's no bars. So it's just, you know, it's just weird. It's extremely weird. He said even people that aren't on suicide watch, he said that you've got guards coming by, you know, every 9 minutes, something like that. And it's just, it's just, that's just crazy. I just don't know if I'm drinking the Kool-Aid, man. I think I'm a pass on this Kool-Aid.
I mean, I just think that like we are in a place generally in society where information travels insanely quickly, right? Our level of access to in-depth, high-velocity information is just increasing, and I think that it is that old habits, pardon the pun or expression here, I guess, not pun, but pardon the expression, old habits die hard, and I think that it is absolutely ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous to think that this person killed himself. Absolutely ridiculous. It's like, you know, the most linear, most simple explanation is probably the explanation, you know? And so there are too many people that this worked out well for.
Yeah.
Very, 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 very wealthy people.
Yeah. Agreed.
And so, I mean, here's the thing, though. Like you and I were discussing prior to the show. So what? So what? Okay, somebody had him killed. So what? Like, what's next?
Yeah.
No, you know, no one's going to be held accountable for this. So it's just that I think that is just it's fascinating. And what do you do with that information?
Yeah, and that's the other thing. It's like, yeah, what's the next move? Oh, and I got some names mixed up, by the way, so I want to go ahead and issue a correction. Ghislaine Maxwell was the girl that I was talking about that supposedly had or allegedly was sexually assaulted almost or probably, that ended up in the hospital. The other girl was Virginia Roberts Giffrey, however that's pronounced, and that was the kind of handler of the women for Epstein. She was the one that was kind of supposed to go and recruit, kind of thing. So just wanted to correct myself before we moved on. So
Got it.
But yeah, man, I completely agree with you. I think that it works out entirely too well for entirely too many people that are that layer that we were talking about earlier of the elites, and especially that the fact that this never made it to trial. It's like, something is up, man. Something is up. So
yeah, and it's just this is, I mean, if this is happening right in front of people, what is happening kind of around the corner, right?
Yeah.
And
what's not in view,
right?
So.
That's right. And so, but the other thing that is, aside from just being interesting to think about, like, really, what do you do with that information?
Yeah,
and I think that's the part that I'm just not real clear on,
Well, and the thing is, dude, if whoever, because I think he was killed. I don't know who he was killed by. Well, I mean, probably whatever prison guards or another prisoner or whatever. But whoever financed this or made it happen, probably has enough hush money to dole out that we're never going to get to the bottom of it. So that's just, money.
Right.
Money's a pretty fucking powerful thing when, you're dealing with stuff like this. So,
right.
But anywho, let's see. Do you want to? We're looking at the. Yeah, we could probably do both these last two, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. I'll go ahead and hop into the because this one's not too long, but thanks for bearing with us on the these past two. I know we've had a couple articles that kind of went on a little bit longer, but I think that that conversation is very important, and to really kind of dive into it a little deeper than normal. But anyway, so. Pulled this one from The Verge. Google fixes search issue that prevented new content from appearing. So, when I pulled this originally, this has since been edited. So they have fixed the issue at this point. But I believe at the time that I pulled this, they were sitting at about a half day that they were having indexing issues for new content. So you've got, and I am not even going to act like I understand this very well, but you have some kind of algorithm or web crawler, whatever, that Google uses to find new content on the internet, and then it is indexed in so that when you do a Google search, it will pop up as new information about Jeffrey Epstein or David Harbour or whatever, and the problem the problem was the fact that they were having indexing issues, so you were not getting up-to-date information. And some information was just completely not omitted, but just just new information was not being indexed.
Right.
This is not the first time that this has occurred. They experienced a number of they being Google experienced a number of indexing issues, with some lasting for a week in April. So you're talking about a week long that inaccurate search results are being given to billions of people.
Right.
That is why I wanted to pull this article, because like we've said on this show multiple times, when you're on the internet using Google or Bing or Yahoo, you're on the internet that they're curating.
Right.
And I think that, do I think that this was a purposeful move and to do, whatever? No, I'm not going to. I'm not going to put on my conspiracy theorist hat for this one.
Right.
But it's something to think about and something to keep in the back of your mind, because a lot of shit has been going down lately, and it's rather convenient to have indexing issues for the largest search engine in the world.
Right.
So yeah, I thought that this was kind of interesting. I wanted to kind of put the spotlight on it for a little bit. I mean, what do you think, or do you have any thoughts on it, man?
Yeah, I think that we're just in a really challenging place right now, in the development of society generally. I think technology has just outpaced the way that most people look at the world. Well, it's kind of outpaced their ability to understand how it influences their world. Let me put it that way.
Yeah.
And so, understanding what truth is or what accurate information is becoming a huge problem. And tech companies know that, and they're going to use it. They're going to use it to their benefit.
Well, and when you've got these huge tech companies that are literally controlling the avenue that you receive information,
right?
I mean, they can, if Google so wished, they could probably make. I mean, obviously somebody would find this out because it's a huge thing, but they could probably sweep the results for new stuff for this Epstein case under the rug if they so wanted to.
Right.
And that kind of power, man, it cannot go unchecked, because that's scary to me. I mean, I'm not cowered in my fucking corner, rocking back and forth, sucking my thumb or anything, but
you said it's scary.
Yeah. I mean, I think that it's kind of scary that a company can have that kind of power, But
yeah, I mean, it's
I'm not
here.
trying to sensationalize. I'm just saying that it's like, that's a lot of power. That's basically what I'm saying.
Yeah, it is, and it's already, it's already here, and it's already happening, and this joke about they're listening or whatever, they are, it's happening. And that's the reality of the situation. It just is.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so it's these companies are going to use the current situation, are going to use this current situation to their benefit. Hard stop. That's happening. That's what's going on.
Well, it's like, dude, get it while the getting's good, and nobody's fucking regulating you. So.
Yeah.
But.
Yep. And so how? I don't know, man. Yeah. Where you go from here is just going to be the really, really interesting part about this, I think.
And walking the fine line between appropriate regulation and straight up fucking like censorship kind of thing,
Yeah.
But,
Yeah. Because I mean, it's I think that there's a pretty solid argument that could be made that that these should be public utilities, but it's like, then do you trust these guys?
Yeah.
Then do you trust the government to make sure that everything's being handled properly? I don't know. It's weird.
Yes, it is. But speaking of potential censorship,
Yeah.
Like that segue.
Yeah. Yes, I do.
So 8chan, you wanna dive into this a little bit?
Yeah. So this was on the on the tail of the absolute insanity and tragedies that happened
Yeah.
in El Paso and Dayton.
Yeah.
One of the shooters, maybe both of them, but I think it was actually just the guy in El Paso.
I think you're right, dude.
Had posted, that's
Like
he
his manifesto or
yeah,
whatever.
exactly, his manifesto on 8chan. And so, for those of you that don't know, there is a website called 4chan. 4chan is kind of like a more raw. I don't even know the best way to put it. More extreme version of Reddit. 8chan is something similar. I don't even know exactly what is the big difference between 4chan and 8chan.
I think 4chan is 8chan is 4chans.
Got it. Got it.
I know. I really, honestly, I really don't know. I know that they're similar, and that basically they are, and most likely, rightfully so, they are blamed a lot for these radicalists. I'm just going to say. To get on there and fucking whatever, talk about, hate crimes and stuff like that. And in some cases, some of this stuff has actually come to fruition, like with the El Paso stuff. And this dude, was making, not threat. Well, I guess threats, yeah, through this manifesto that he posted on it, and then he actually went through with it and everything. So
Right.
So basically, what happened was, the Philippines National Bureau of Investigation. They were already checking out 8chan due to the Christchurch shooting,
Right.
Because it had a presence. The dude that did that one had a presence on 8chan, and basically they contacted. And by the way, the reason that this is in the Philippines is because both the creator of 8chan and the current owner both live in the Philippines, which I don't know. That's kind of is that weird?
That what?
The creator and the current owner of 8chan both live in the Philippines.
No.
Like, is there something I'm missing about the Philippines? I guess.
No.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't think so.
I wasn't sure. Anyway, so people are saying, hey, this is fucking ridiculous. You guys don't do enough content moderation on 8chan. You guys aren't snuffing this stuff out quick enough or at all, And so they were getting a bunch of pushback. They contact the owner. The owner's like, "Fuck it, I don't want to deal with this shit. Shut it down," kind of thing. And then the companies that were responsible for the infrastructure for running 8chan, Cloudflare and Epic, both decided to withdraw basically all their resources, essentially shutting it down completely. So, but yeah, so it's just, I don't know. I kind of go back and forth. I don't. Obviously, I think that it's disgusting to have these viewpoints perpetuated and on any platform. But at the same time, I believe in the freedom of speech, and I think that if somebody wants to say something, and then they should rightfully so, they should have that right. Am I defending these people? No, I'm not. I'm not defending these people. These people are terrible fucking people, and But having said that, it's just where do you draw the line? I guess
Yeah. So my take's a little bit different. I think
Okay.
people should. I think people should be able to post absolutely anything that they want, and so long as they're not openly, violently threatening people.
Yeah. Or breaking the law, like
breaking
child
the law.
pornography and shit like that. You
Yeah.
know? But
Yeah.
I mean, it's really cut and dry. So
Yeah, but I mean, I think there are laws. These laws exist. Like, it's pretty clear. Well, I should say, as it's written now, it's pretty clear what crossing the line is. Yeah.
yeah.
I can, whatever. Right. Well, I guess let me back off that just for a second. Excuse me. Let me back off that just for a second. There will always be a conversation about, like, how far is too far, right? But I think for the most part, doing our best to protect speech, even though you don't agree with it or it's really extreme speech, is probably a good idea. Because of course, no one, well, very few people are going to, have an issue with, shutting down some neo-Nazi website. Like, these guys, some people that are talking about that kind of shit they're just not tuned in to
Reality.
modern society. Yeah. And it's just, and they, in my mind, just don't have a lot of credibility, and it's just fucking whatever. Who gives a shit if somebody wants to, post some, long tirade, racially, charged tirade or whatever, like, fuck them, right?
So real quick though.
But then when
Okay.
you start saying, okay, well, then what if somebody's talking about, something that's, like, less extreme, right? And then that gets shit canned too. I mean, that's when incrementalism kicks in at scale, and you end up with huge problems down the road.
Yeah. So it's it's just walking an extremely fine line.
Right.
And are we going to be able to work through where that line is and where it should be drawn?
Right.
No, we're not, because we don't have all the fucking answers.
Right.
But yeah, man, it's a tough conversation. But I think that literally talking about it, and I think that that's how you come to solutions. Is you have a back and forth, you have a conversation, not a 280 character monologue or a post on Facebook that you're shooting for 1,000 likes or whatever,
Right.
Just actually facilitating a conversation for figuring out what where that line is. So
Right.
anyway, so I did read this thing real quick, and we'll wrap this article. So the United States has expansive laws protecting the freedom of speech, and Section 230 of the Communications Decency Act broadly shields sites like 8chan from liability if users post illegal content, but that won't necessarily protect it elsewhere. So I'm pretty sure that's why it's being addressed in the Philippines.
Got it.
So
Got it. So one quick note, this just popped up on something I was like,
Jeffrey Epstein was spotted at a Walmart.
Do you know who Mike Posner is?
Yeah, I don't know that. Is he a rapper or some kind of artist?
He's like he's artist or whatever. Yeah. This guy's lost his shit, dude. He's a pop singer, right?
Yeah.
Mike Posner was bitten by a rattlesnake on his walk across the U.S.
What?
Mike Posner's decided he's going to walk across the U.S. So, yeah, dude.
fuck?
Yeah, so his career.
Does it say how far he made it?
Well, his career, he's on mile 1800 of 2800.
Wow.
But his career is kind of tanked a little bit, so I guess this is
he's Forrest Gump moment.
That's exactly what I was gonna say. He's just gonna Forrest Gump this bitch back into pop culture. Forrest Gump himself back in. So
yeah.
Anyway, totally crazy, but it's about that time.
It is.
It's about that time. This was 61.
This is episode 61, man.
61, episode 61. Right on, man. Well, if you have an issue with what you heard, or you want to give your opinion, or you just want to send, a haiku, feel free to do so. tetherradio@gmail.com, tetherradio@gmail.com. You can find us on Twitter @tether_radio, Instagram @tether_radio, and Facebook, all one word, Tether Radio. Man, 61. This one was a meaty episode, man.
Oh yeah. And also, listeners, be on the lookout for the Tether frags that are coming out on Mondays these days. Full episodes on Wednesday. The frags just kind of give you a little glimpse of one of the article discussions that will be available with the full episode on the following Wednesday. So
yes, indeed,
check them out.
Yes, indeedy. Awesome. Okay, episode 61 in the books, dude. Thank you, everyone, for your time, and we look forward to your opinions on some of the stuff that we covered today. So This has been episode 61. I'm Joseph.
And I'm Daniel.
And we are reminding you, dear friends, to stay tethered. We will catch you next week.